Hi, I'm Gillian and welcome to the show. I offer spiritual growth for the rebel soul, guiding you through the labyrinth of your own ascension path. This show is for the rebel souls that challenge the status quo, those that crave authenticity in every single aspect of their lives, that desire to embrace their uniqueness, follow their passions, connect to their soul and live according to who they truly are, even if that means having the courage to go against the grain or the norms of society. If that's you, my spiritual soul seeker, rebel warrior, then this is the place for you. On this podcast, we speak about everything from spirituality, sexuality, conscious relationships, business, and literally everything in between. So if that's your jam, then stay tuned. And go on, be a rebel and subscribe. You know you want to. Hello, my loves. Welcome back. So today I want to talk about something that I think every single person has experienced at some point in their life. Whether you're spiritual or whether you're not, you will have experienced this. And it's that feeling that you get, when your life just feels like it's just not happening fast enough. That you've kind of somehow missed your opportunity in some way, you're seeing everyone else getting into relationships, having businesses, the baby, the house, next level success, and then you're sitting here just still waiting going, what the fuck just happened? And I honestly don't think I've ever met anyone that hasn't felt like that somehow. It's just such a natural part of this thing that we call life. And what's really interesting I find is that even as someone that's worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients, that read some of people's energy every single day, I speak to spirit every single day. There's still moments where I experience it as well. It doesn't matter how much connection or certainty that you still have. Some things are still not within your complete control. In fact, most things in this life are not within your control, right? I still experience it, but it isn't the same way that I used to. There's still moments where I catch myself thinking, having these milli moments going, okay, when is this going to happen, And then I remember all the things that Spirit tells me about divine timing and journeys and, what's come through for me, what's come through for my clients. And it's not actually that we struggle with the waiting for that thing to arrive. It's actually that we tend to struggle with the not knowing, with the uncertainty of that thing. Because let's be honest, right? If someone said to you, if you came for a reading and I said to you, hey, that relationship that you've been wanting? Well, it's going to be here in exactly 11 months. If you heard that, then you would probably just you'd relax, right? You wouldn't be thinking about it. That wouldn't be consuming your whole mind. You would just chill the fuck out. If someone told you that your entire business was going to completely change in 8 months, right, for the better, you'd probably just stop panicking when the next paycheck's going to come through. If you got a reading and someone told you that whatever that thing is that you've just been fucking praying for is on its way, it's already on its way, it's very, very close, it's coming, then you'd probably just go and enjoy your life a whole lot more, wouldn't you? So it's not necessarily the waiting that's the issue, it's just the uncertainty that us as humans find incredibly difficult. And, that uncertainty just has this real ability to make us literally question everything. It makes us question ourselves, our own intuition, what we've received from spirit. If you're already on this journey and intuitive, it makes you question whether you're on the right path or whether you've made the wrong decision about this or that or this. Have I missed the boat on something? Have I missed my purpose? Is this ever gonna fucking work? And I see it all the time with all of my clients. The ones that are developing their abilities, the ones that have businesses, the ones that are in relationships, the ones that want relationships. All of these aspects of our life will bring up these feelings. And it's really easy to feel like something's wrong. Nothing's moving in the timeline that they want or need. And then when we actually look at the energy of it, like they're literally just in between chapters, or they have to do something or become something or shift their whole identity in order to move things forward. And sometimes because nothing like obvious is happening externally, like in their external world, their minds, and all of our minds actually, we just start to create these stories, right? Like that we're failing, or we're falling behind, or we should be farther ahead by now, or we should have that thing that Sally has. And it's like, oh my God, it's just not the case. Like in actual reality, most of the time, none of those stories that we create are actually true at all. Like sometimes maybe, but like for the most part, if you're here listening to this, then it's not for you. It's just what our mind does when it doesn't have evidence, right? Like that, the uncertainty, like I said. And I mean, don't even get me started on social media, right? Social media has obviously made this 10 times worse for so many people, because you're watching everyone's like highlight reel, right? You're watching everyone's like best foot forward, people getting engaged and launching a 7-figure business, or buying a dream home, moving overseas, selling out their program, whatever it is. And then without even realizing it, you see that, and it's the thing that you want, or the thing you've been building towards, and of course you're going to start comparing timelines, right? It's just a subconscious thing that's going to happen, and you don't even think you're doing it, but then you're like, why isn't this happening for me? Like, why is everyone else's moving? Why do I feel like mine's is on pause? But like, the funny thing is, when you see other people going through their things or having their wins, you have no idea what happened before that moment that they just shared on Instagram, right? How many years they've spent crying, how many failures they had, how much debt they were in, how many relationships they had, how many times they nearly quit, like how many businesses they had that failed, like how much loneliness they experienced. Like you're comparing like your whole behind the scenes, right? With someone's like little snap, like selling their best snap, right? Like they're like a trailer to their movie, the best bits. Like it's just not a fair comparison. So you can't really even start to compare them, really. Like it's kind of impossible. And also, like, I just want you to know everyone has their own journey. Like you come into this life with completely different karma, completely different mission, completely different childhoods, things that you have to navigate and heal, the bigger path that you're on. And you could be out here going, oh my God, I've done all the inner work, but then this person over here looks like they've done no work and they've got this dream life. Well, okay, we all have a different plan, right? You maybe had a lot more things to burn through because you're here to do some bigger things. You're here to embody more things. Like you cannot compare your journey to anyone else's. Like there's always a bigger reason to that. And if you're here listening to this podcast episode now, then there's definitely a bigger reason for yours. Because one thing that Spirit showed me time and time again is that timing, literally, it's always because of some level of preparation, right? And of course, sometimes we need that time to build skill, right? To learn new skills. But also sometimes what we're preparing for is so that we can become this version of ourselves that can actually hold the thing that you're asking for. Like it's very different, and that's why some people manifest really quickly, and that's why some people manifest a little bit slower, because some people will get that thing and then they learn to hold it through the experience of having that thing, and sometimes it also means losing that thing. And then there's other people that will have to embody those traits, embody that version of themselves that can hold the capacity of what they're asking for, and then they get the thing. It's very different. There's the embodiment piece that comes through in different ways. Because imagine you're asking for $1 million business, right? But right now, with the version of you that actually exists right now, today, that's sitting on her bum or walking or whatever you're doing, listen to this. Would you actually enjoy running it? $1 million business, and what all that would entail. Would you actually enjoy running it? Or would you burn yourself to the ground trying to? Right? Fact. Imagine getting the relationship that you've just dreamed about. Well, would today's version trust it? Do you actually have space in your life for it? Would your abandonment wounds actually sabotage it if it came in right now? right? All things to think about. Imagine having hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, lots of eyes on you. Would you feel excited by that? Or would the scale of visibility, the things that people would say, would that make you just want to absolutely shut down your Instagram and be like, okay, bow out, I'm not ready for this, I can't handle that, right? Like, when you actually look at it like that, it puts things into perspective, right? So there's things that we need to embody, there's traits, there's things that we need to shift, there's different decisions that we need to make, there's actions, there's so many factors to make it feasible for us to have the capacity to hold that thing, based on so many elements, based on, you know, our past, our healing, or all these things. You know, and sometimes we think that we're just waiting for that thing, but actually the thing is waiting for us. And I'm going to say that again, because I feel like that was pretty poignant if I do say so myself. So sometimes we think that we're waiting for the thing that we want, the relationship, the money, the business, the success, whatever. But actually the thing is waiting for us. Is waiting for us to build the capacity to hold it the way that we are meant to hold it. You know, and I'll give you an example from my own business. You know, there have totally been seasons within my business journey, in this particular business that I have now, where I've been like, what's happening? I've done the work. I've been showing up. I've been creating the content. I've launched the offers. I've done the things. So why does it still feel a bit quiet? And then months later, I realized, okay, I get it. And this has happened many times. And this is the thing. You'll go through these void seasons, these quiet seasons, these busy and quiet seasons, because you're always evolving. You know, and I realized, you know, when it happened the first time, I was like, okay, that quiet season, what did that actually give me? It gave me perspective. It gave me space to kind of create the thing that my future business actually needed. Because my business has evolved literally quarter on quarter on quarter. It has evolved so fast. You know, there are some people that will have the business that will stay the same, and they'll have the same offer, and they'll continue to do the same thing online for years. Mine hasn't worked like that. I'm like I'm a Manny Jen. I'm like, drrr. So sometimes it's almost felt like I've been moving faster than the business has and has to catch up. But, you know, this is why there's things in divine timing, right? And, you know, because I look back and I'm like, okay, in those quieter seasons, if I had been booked out by loads of one-on-one clients, let's say, I would have never had the space to build out my group program or recorded that training. You know, if I had endless clients and doing back-to-backs, which is not, that doesn't work for my energy, I wouldn't have had the space and been able to stop long enough to ask myself, like, do I even want this? Do I even want this? And I had to realize like that for sure. It's like, my energy, some people's energy is built for like back-to-back one-to-ones, right? Just, that's all they do. Back-to-back one-to-ones, one-on-one. That is not my energy. My energy does not work like that. That would just fry me out. So I have like allocated space for my group things, my teachings, my marketing, my, you know, and also my one-on-ones, right? Because I need to have a variety of things personally for my energy. But my energy is the group teacher energy, really. So it's finding out and having the space to kind of go, oh, what actually fits me now? What is going to work for me? What is that future version of me? What does that really look like and feel like for me? You know, and obviously when life creates that space for you, like sometimes it's creating it before it creates a next level of expansion, you know, and obviously in that moment, right, it kind of, that space doesn't feel like anything. It feels like nothing. But looking back, every time I've had that space, it was exactly what I needed. You know, and I think about trees and plants a lot. Like when it comes to analogies, I always get analogies from spirit or about plants or trees or nature. Because like if you've ever planted something, and I am not a green-fingered gal, but if I have planted things, but if you've ever planted anything, the most frustrating part is that nothing seems to happen, right? Weeks could go by, months could go by, depending on what you're planting. Sometimes it looks dead. Sometimes you just planted something and it's grown and actually looks dead. But underneath, what's happening? The roots are growing. Yes, the roots are growing. Because the roots have to grow before there's like a tree, right? Because if the tree grew first, well, the roots couldn't support it, right? And the whole fucking thing would fall over. That's the beauty of like, and I think this is why Spirit always gives me analogies about buildings or plants, because of this reason. And it's because nature understands something that God, us humans, tend to forget quite easily, myself included, is that we have to build strong foundations first. You know, visibility is second, but the roots are the first thing. You know, it will fruit later. It will get fruit and leaves and beautiful things. But we've got to build the strength first. You know, expansion, it'll grow and it'll bloom and it'll, you know, be massive. We'll have that expansion, but it comes later. Yet somehow, we always want it the opposite way, don't we? Like, of course, we always want the fruit tomorrow, like, to stuff our faces with, without appreciating the years that the roots actually take to grow. And then, of course, we're wondering why we're exhausted, or we're wondering why we're trying to force the fruit to come instead of just trusting the roots, trusting the divine timing of the roots. We can't see the roots growing, but they're growing. And then one day, poof, tree, it starts to grow. I feel like that's such a good analogy for this topic and divine timing and the timing of our lives. You know, I remember working with a client who, she so desperately wanted a relationship, you know, and it was literally her entire focus. Like, she just wanted her person so, so badly. And Spirit kept on telling me about her business. And she was almost a bit frustrated, if I'm going to be honest. Like, she kept on saying, yeah, but I didn't ask about my business. But yet Spirit kept on saying, yeah, but it's because that's the thing that's going to change who you actually become. The business is going to teach you about boundaries. It's going to teach you self-worth. It's going to teach you confidence. It's going to teach you how to actually stop abandoning yourself. Because actually, she still had those patterns running, right? And it was almost like she wanted this relationship. So there was an element of like, so someone could save her, right? Look, listen, we all have these. We all have these in different guises. And then, once through the business, you'll learn to embody and shift those aspects of yourself. And then you'll naturally attract a completely different type of relationship. And obviously at the time, she kind of was like, she couldn't understand why Spirit wasn't giving her the answer that she wanted. This is the thing with Spirit. They are never going to give you the answer that you want. They're going to give you what you need. Always. And then what happened? Of course, months later, she messaged me and she was like, I understand what that all meant. And I followed the guidance that you gave me about the business and what I was here to do and how I was here to do it. Because she's like, I realized that the business became that thing that healed the version of me that would have chosen the wrong relationship. Like, it's such a different perspective, because sometimes the thing that you're building in the first place, it's not the destination at all. It's just the transformation. And that's why our whole life is so interwoven. The themes in one area, the themes that we're meant to work through and embody in our business also impacts the themes in our relationship. And for some people, that's how we have to do it, right? Some people have to embody and heal through having a relationship, and then it creates a strong business, or vice versa, or whatever area that taps in. I just use relationship and business as key areas because they're very common areas that I deal with. But it's all interwoven, and I think that we can misunderstand healing a little bit and like what that actually looks like. Because it's so easy to think that, our own healing should feel like just constant progress, right? But I'm so sorry to tell you, it doesn't look like that at all. Because, sometimes like when we're healing, it can look like feeling worse before you feel any kind of better, trust me. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you've gone backwards. Sometimes it just means that again, the old version of you is slowly falling away. And that's uncomfortable. Because, like our whole identity and all the things that we're holding on to, all the things we're carrying, the belief work, the emotions from this life and other lifetimes, like that shit does not disappear overnight. Doesn't disappear in one healing session. It's dissolving piece by piece by doing the inner work, by making different decisions, by following your intuition, by working with your spirit team, all these things, by shifting the energy, working with the soul, so many things, piece by piece, right? Until eventually, one day, you kind of are like, oh shit, I kind of feel different. Like I'm not reacting that same way. I'm not chasing those same kind of people. I'm not tolerating that same behavior. In fact, like that, I don't even dream the same dreams anymore. You're different. And, even for me, it's one of the biggest lessons I've had over the last year is really like fully embodying and learning that movement and progress aren't always the same thing. Okay? Because again, like I mentioned, there have been periods where I have been incredibly busy, like to the point of burnout, launching, posting, working, creating, doing. That's the default of mine. Something that I am constantly working through and healing through, And actually when I was doing all of that, I wasn't actually moving forward that much. Then there's been quieter seasons where externally it looked like nothing was happening, but internally, like everything was happening because my vision started to change. My offer started to change. What I wanted from my business started to change. The kind of clients that I wanted changed. The life that I actually wanted changed. And it's sometimes that stillness, which again, the uncertainty comes from that, the uncomfortability. Sometimes in that stillness of those moments where it feels like nothing's happening, it actually creates so much more progress than being in that like consistent action like really ever could. And there's a blend, right? It's not like you can just sit there and do nothing, right? You have to, it's a balance. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're in one of those quiet seasons where you think life has gone quiet, or you are not trusting in divine timing, then maybe just ask yourself a different kind of question. Like, instead of going, why is this not happening? Maybe you can ask something else. Like, maybe you can ask, okay, well, who am I actually becoming in this season? Well, nothing appears to be happening. Who am I becoming? Like, what is being asked of me in this space? Because I guarantee you there is going to be something there. I guarantee you something is changing, but you're probably just not measuring the right thing yet. And that's where clarity and awareness in these seasons is so, so key. Because it could be a myriad of things that you're shifting through in this moment. You could be growing your patience. You could be getting better discernment, better boundaries. You could be learning to have balance in your life, rest between doing and being. Maybe again, this space is allowing your whole body or your whole nervous system to actually feel peace. Maybe it's never felt peace before. Maybe you're just building the roots, right? And nobody claps for roots. Nobody claps for things that you can't see underneath the surface, do they? But it's growing those roots is the thing that makes a tree grow. It makes everything else possible. People are going to clap for the tree growing. People are going to clap for the flowers on that tree. People are going to clap for the fruit that tree creates. But what if you're just in the roots period? And I truly believe one day, if you're in the season, like I did, looking back at all of the seasons that I have gone through, and I will continue to go through, I will always be in these cycles because I'm always evolving. My life is always evolving. My identity is always evolving. My business is always evolving. You will look back at any of these seasons, this season right now, and then instead of seeing it as like the time that nothing happened, you'll realize that maybe that is the season where every fucking thing happened. And that you're actually not behind. Maybe you're exactly where your soul should be, knew it would be. Maybe that's your answer. So I just want to thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm sending you love, and I will see you in the next episode.